With Force healing now making its way into Star Wars canon, many questions now surround it. Some believe that it was created a major plot hole in Anakin's story, with a character like Rey being able to seemingly use the ability with ease, healing mortal injuries on 2 separate occasions. The discourse surrounding this reflected back on the Chosen One, who by all accounts should have been able to use this ability to save Padmé. When a Jedi ability of healing was on the table the entire time, why didn't Anakin use it? This has now become somewhat of a meme, suggesting that either Anakin was too stupid to just use Force healing, or that Yoda was too stupid to tell him about it, especially after Anakin visited him about his visions. Well, today, my friends, we've come to debunk this judgment on the Chosen One Anakin, because he did in fact know about Force healing. And Anakin did attempt to try to use it on multiple occasions. Once again, Legends continuity comes to the rescue here. So acolytes and friends, welcome back to the archives, and now let's begin. The art of Force healing is not as straightforward as the name suggests it may be. There is a lot of nuance with the ability, especially with applications using the dark side. Today, we'll of course be primarily focusing on the light side applications of the power, as dark healing is technically a category all its own. Force healing is not simply the way of mending injuries on another being. This is only one of its applications, admittedly one of its strongest, but we'll be going into the deeper details. To begin, all Jedi are taught the power of Force healing from the initiate stage. It is a part of the most basic category of Force powers known as controlled abilities. Control abilities are all about harnessing the Force internally and learning how to use its energies within your own body. This is how one is able to carry their physicality beyond its natural limits, to produce near endless amounts of stamina. This is the very first thing that all Jedi initiates learn. Within the control ability tree is a power known as Curato Salva. This comes from the Jedi path. Curato Salva is a family of abilities that emphasize the healing of self. When you draw on the Force to refresh yourself after combat sessions, you are performing the most basic position of Curata. As a Jedi Knight, you will be expected to master this facet of control to heal your own injuries in battle, to flush mind-altering drugs from your bloodstream, to locate and burn out clusters of disease, to nullify the effects of poison, and to reduce your perception of pain when true healing is not possible in the moment. The Jedi hibernation trance is the most extreme position of Curata, and can be used as a last resort to sustain your vital signs until healers can then intervene. All initiates from day one are aware of what Force healing is. It was such a common ability among the Jedi that each one was expected to use it at least on a micro scale before they would even become a Jedi Knight. To refresh oneself after strenuous activity, or to flush the body of toxins, this was essential in performing everyday Jedi tasks. Even Luke Skywalker, fresh after Return of the Jedi, who only got cursory training from Yoda and a little bit more from the books of Obi-Wan, was still able to use healing as a trance technique. Luke did this during the Thrawn crisis in the year 9 ABY, flushing his body of a poison that caused paralysis when he was captured. Dooku even used this ability as a Sith Lord in order to cleanse himself of a fast-acting virus that was injected to him by Jango Fett. Of course, while this is specifically talking about the self, Jedi Knights are taught the more advanced applications, or they would have seen it done perfectly. The initiates are given many tours of the Jedi Temple, which would have them taken down to the Jedi Temple Halls of Healing, where they would have watched the Jedi doctors at work. Anakin would have also done this. They were also taught by the Jedi Medical Corps, which specialize in using the Force to treat injuries, directly working with impoverished areas on the battlefield. As a general in the Clone Wars, Anakin would have worked closely with the Medical Corps and seen them at work very frequently. He would also have been aware of a circle of Jedi healers, which were the Order's finest practitioners of this singular ability. In Legends, Barriss Offee and Anakin knew each other quite well, and she was a member of this very organization. In fact, they were the guardians of one of the Order's most prized artifacts, an artifact known as the Healing Crystals of Fire. These crystals were so powerful in the Force that it was said that they could even bring one back from the brink of death. Again, Anakin was a Clone Wars general. He was well aware of the existence of both this organization and these artifacts. This was not secret information held among the Jedi. So yes, Anakin very much knew about Force healing. But then, with all of that said, why did he not try to use it himself? Well, it's because he has attempted to twice, and both times it ended and failed miserably. 1 month after the Battle of Geonosis would be his first attempt, as a terrorist bombing left Jedi Master Sora Mibari with a grievous injury and in a comatose state. Anakin had just freshly exited the traumatizing Battle of Jabiim, where Obi-Wan Kenobi was there believed to have been killed. Anakin was in a state of grief, denial, and shock, not willing to concede to the other Jedi that Obi-Wan had been killed, feeling like he could have done something to save him. It was here when Anakin saw Master Mumbari in the hospital of New Holstis and believed that he could save her. While not having trained in the ways of Force healing before and in person yet, Anakin attempted the unorthodox method of attempting to massage her heart with the Force in order to get it back into rhythm. Anakin had just recently used Force choke by accident, and so now he thought he could apply the same principle of squeezing an organ here, but hopefully by doing it gently, he may be able to save the Jedi Master's life. Anakin was simply unable to accept any more Jedi loss after seeing how many of his friends and his master had seemingly died on the world of Jabiim. However, another Jedi Master, A'Sharad Hett, who had been speaking with Anakin, was horrified by what he was attempting, and begged Anakin to stop. A'Sharad told Anakin that he was causing the Jedi to suffer needlessly. Skywalker, however, didn't listen, and insisted that he could save her, refusing to let the Jedi die. But efforts failed completely, and the Jedi Master Mumbari fell flat. This event would leave Anakin distressed and angry, frustrated at the limits of his powers. It is implied after this event that Anakin would go on to study the art of healing more closely, so that he could learn how to use this technique properly. But this now brings us to the Battle of Air Gornar, and Anakin's second failed attempt. Coincidentally, A'Sharad Hett is also involved here, as this has to do with his Padawan, a Jedi by the name of Bat Jewel. Their gunship having crashed behind enemy lines, Anakin, A'Sharad, and Jewel all were attempting to desperately escape. Unfortunately, however, the young Jedi Padawan had been mortally wounded with the ship crashing. Lying behind a rock with blaster bolts flying all around them, Anakin was holding the young Jedi in his arms, as he desperately attempted to use the Force to heal him once more, this time the proper way, channeling the Force through his body to mend his wounds. But it was to no avail. The Jedi would die in Anakin's arms, the same exact way that his mother had. Anakin had never felt so powerless, so useless, so weak. He was supposedly the chosen one of legend, and yet he could not accomplish this basic power, a power that came to every other Jedi so easily. He could not even soothe someone else's pain. No matter how much he attempted it, Anakin was incapable of using healing properly. There is not a reason given for this, but we can surmise that it was likely a combination of Anakin's inexperience and his emotional mindset at the time. The light side does not lend itself well to desperation and panic. Maybe if Anakin had been more peaceful, calm, and passive, willing to flow with the Force rather than command it, he could have saved the young Jedi. But that's not how Anakin operates at all. In Revenge of the Sith, Anakin's feelings are put on full display. He says, "I'm not the Jedi I should be. I want more, and I shouldn't." With the weight of being the chosen one on his shoulders, this is supposed to come with the implication of having no limits. He is limited by his inability, however, to save others. Time after time, people die before his eyes and in his very arms, and he's not able to do anything to stop it. This repeated fear and distress seeds deeply in his heart as his insecurity and self-hatred boil. If only he had more power. He begins to believe that there are things about the Force that the Council is not willing to tell him. In his mind, this is the answer. He's so good at everything else, so why not this? And finally, all of his anguish and fear start to breed something else within him. Another person, another identity, a being of pure anxiety, pain, and rage. Vader. The novel for Revenge of the Sith describes a cold dragon born from the heart of a dying star, one that wraps around Anakin's heart, squeezing, threatening to consume him every hour. And this is when his dreams begin. He sees his wife Padmé dying in childbirth. What Anakin does not know is that this is actually a warning, the Force showing him what will happen if he doesn't conquer his fear, but he misinterprets it, and the fear begins to take hold. Palpatine preys upon this. He knows Anakin is having the dreams. He didn't cause them, but he makes them so much worse. Palpatine makes the war worse. Terrified for the life of his love, Anakin knows that he cannot use the Force to heal her. He had tried before and has failed miserably. But also, what was he supposed to heal her of? Death itself? There was nothing medically wrong with Padmé that he could sense. The only thing that assured him of her fate was what he saw in his dreams. He could not go to the Jedi because if they learned that he had been harboring a secret marriage with a senator, he would be expelled from the Jedi. Padmé's life as a senator would be over. This would be a massive scandal. It would be all over the HoloNet, and their lives would be uprooted, ruined. Going to the Jedi was not an option. Anakin sought Yoda's advice on the premonitions and how to prevent them. Yoda would embody the voice of the Force, telling him that he must be careful about sensing the future, that fear is the path to the dark side. By accepting what is and letting go of what he fears to lose, he will be at peace. Anakin refused to accept this because he had seen through his mother and the loss of his friends what the war had done. There had not been peace. There had been anything but peace. He had no idea what he was currently doing was a self-fulfilling prophecy. Had he taken Yoda's advice, he would have stopped it from ever coming true. But instead, he was greedy. He craved more power. The power to save Padmé himself. That greed brought him into the arms of evil. Sidious made a false promise of discovering Plagueis' secret to control life itself. For Anakin, Jedi Force healing had simply not worked. Not just Force healing, but now the entirety of the Jedi way. He could not be peaceful enough to use healing. He could not be peaceful enough to be a Jedi. He could not let go of what he feared to lose, like a true Jedi should. And so, Anakin walked the way of the Sith to gain powers beyond what was natural. He would not abide by the laws of life. He believed himself beyond it. And so he sought to bend it himself. And this is why Anakin didn't use Force healing. It wasn't because he didn't know about it, or that it was hidden from him, or that he was too stupid to employ it. It was because he fundamentally couldn't. And yes, it was perhaps foolish that he did not reveal his marriage to the Jedi for the sake of saving her. But Anakin was not thinking clearly because of his fear, because of Sidious. This is what fear does to people. And not only this, but Anakin was selfish. What many miss is that Anakin didn't want the help of others. Not the Jedi, not Obi-Wan. Anakin wanted to save Padmé himself. He was supposed to be the Chosen One, and that is what the Chosen One was supposed to do, save people. He was greedy for the power that he believed was owed to him. He was angry that it was being denied him. He is one of the greatest Jedi to have ever lived, a warrior beyond much of the Jedi High Council, able to perform feats in the Force Jedi can only dream of, and yet, it wasn't enough for him. This is the core of Anakin's fall, his failure to save Padmé. Not just because he didn't think to use Force healing. But anyway, my friends, tell us now what you think of all of this. Were you in this camp before now? And if you were, did this change your mind at all? And if it didn't, please tell us why. Do you think that Anakin should have reached out to the Jedi High Council to have them heal Padmé? Do you think they could have done this without revealing their marriage? I would love to hear your thoughts and theories down below. And until next time, my friends, thank you so much for joining us in the archives here today, and may the Force be with you.